Russian not so genius clown ship strategy is about to backfire, and its elite troops are about to be lured into Bakhmut trap. At the same time, Kadyrov released a video showing that he is healthy. The Russian Black Sea Navy was attacked once again, and Putin's house was targeted. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Sorry about that, it's getting cringe, but there it is. So, Minister of Defense of Russia, our favorite quote-unquote Sergei Shoigu, visited Iran, or properly said Iran, to talk with its defense minister and see the long-range missiles, medium-range missiles, electronic warfare equipment and other military equipment and stuff. And as always, here is how I imagine this meeting went. There it is, Mr. Shoigu. It is our most modern radar, which is able to detect enemy's aircrafts and missiles many kilometers away. I wonder if I can connect my favorite fishing TV channel using this radar. Tuk 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 tuk. Mr. Shoigu, Iran has so much to offer. Oh snap, I can't wait to be in the Russian dude apartment once again to annoy him as a mosquito. And this, Mr. Shoigu, is our long-range missile. It is very destructive. Looks pretty good. I'll take 2 of them. And Diet Coke, please, to go. And when the meeting was about to finish... Oh no, guys, it's too late. Shoigu Mosquito is again in my apartment. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel to help me defeat this annoying Shoigu Mosquito. And if we shall fail, I will be defeated and infected with the Russian dude propaganda. I think, guys, we got him, so let's just test something really quick. Glory to the Russian Federation Armed Forces. Zelensky is a nuts. Just kidding, guys. Here is this little troublemaker. Congratulations, Shoigu Mosquito. You played yourself. But okay, now let's get back to serious news, and I'll give you a very quick update about Kadyrov, Azerbaijan-Armenian conflict and the United Nations meeting, and then there'll be a very quick update from the south and the east of Ukraine. And speaking about Kadyrov, recently he released this video assuring everyone that he is good and healthy, and this is actually his uncle, who is in the Moscow hospital. And the video itself is obviously, to say this is extremely suspicious, because we can never see Kadyrov's face facing forward. So just let me know in the comments, what do you think? Was it pre-recorded long time ago, or do you think that Kadyrov is actually healthy? Speaking about Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, after just a couple of days of military activities in Nagorno-Karabakh, now this territory is under the control of Azerbaijan. Armenia basically surrendered. And ultimately, as the part of the United States visit, Zelensky was speaking during the United Nations meeting, and this is his main statements. First of all military formations of Russia must leave the territory of Ukraine. Second is that Ukrainian borders must be restored to the internationally recognized borders of 1991. And third is that Ukraine must regain its access to all its territories, both in economic and political ways, including the Black Sea and Azov Sea and Kerch Strait. And I mean, these statements, they make sense in order to finish the war, right? Well, now just listen to what the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, had to say on his part. As expected, he made a lot of ridiculously outraging statements, and here is the worst one of them. So, he said that whenever Ukraine is saying that we should give them back their territories to 1991 borders, do Ukrainians themselves, they realize that Zelensky will almost personally go to Donbass region, to Luhansk and Donetsk, and start eliminating its own civilians? No, guys, I'm actually being serious. This is exactly what the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, said, that as soon as war is over, and if Russia does not protect Ukrainians in these territories, and you remember every single time Russians go to some cities, towns or villages, they're being completely destroyed. And this is what he basically says, that if Russia abandons them, Ukrainians will come themselves and eliminate for some reason their own civilians. This is just outrageously stupid. Just me trying to be politically correct and PG rated on YouTube. But this is, I don't even know what kind of person you need to be to even say such things out loud. But well, at least it gives you a pretty good understanding of how Russian politics work. But okay, now as promised, let me give you a quick update from the south of Ukraine, where Russia's favorite strategy is about to backfire, and then we'll go to the east. And so, first of all, we just have to make a stop in a Russian city called Sochi, where this last morning around 5 AM, allegedly a Ukrainian drone attacked their oil base. At first, Russians did not want to acknowledge that in fact this was a drone attack, and Ukrainians did not yet take responsibility for this action. So it very well might be a sabotage by Russians themselves. But the most interesting part about this activity, besides that Sochi was attacked for the very first time since the beginning of this war, is that Putin's summer house, also in Sochi, was located extremely close to this drone incident place. And reportedly, even more drones approaching Putin's house were intercepted, so it is pretty safe to say that Putin's house in Sochi was targeted. And speaking about the drones, Russia itself launched 24 of its Shahid drones against Ukraine, and Ukrainians were able to intercept 17 of them. Next we go to the Crimean Peninsula, where recently yet another attack against the Russian Black Sea Navy happened in Verkhna Sadovaya. And according to the preliminary reports, which looks like later were confirmed, Ukrainians used a Storm Shadow missile. One of the first things that Russians did in response to that is to put a smoke screen in Sevastopol port. And also, as always, whenever something happens next to Crimea, they closed the Crimean bridge for civilians. In addition to that, Russia took away all of its submarines from Sevastopol Bay, excluding only one captured submarine of Ukrainians called Zaporozhye. And as of right now, it is assumed that Russians are transporting their Black Sea Fleet vessels from Sevastopol port all the way to their Russian territory to the port located in Novorossiysk. And later, Ukrainians confirmed that indeed a military headquarters of Russians next to Sevastopol was destroyed as a result of this attack, and besides high-ranking officers, a lot of expensive military equipment was destroyed as well. And just by taking a look at this map, with the alleged starting point of the Ukrainian missile being in Kherson, most likely indeed it was a Storm Shadow, because the range it covered was approximately 230 kilometers. Just a couple of last words from the south of Ukraine, and then we'll talk about Russia's favorite strategy, which is about to backfire. And so first of all, we once again refer to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, which claims that there is a significant increase in Russian losses in Zaporozhye front line, with Ukrainians being predominantly successful in western Zaporozhye region. And recently, a large assault group of Russians along with their armored vehicles has been destroyed next to Verbove. And as you might already know, one of the biggest reasons why the advancement of Ukrainians in the south has been so slow, it is because Russians heavily mined these front lines. But apparently, according to some Western military expert, Russia's favorite strategy will backfire very soon. And what they mean by that is that the number of mines is so significant in small areas. It can be up to 15 mines to only 10 square meters. And Russians most likely, they do not record and put on maps the location of all of these mines. They just pretty much randomly put them on the ground, in the trees, under the ground, under the stones, just hoping that Ukrainians will obviously not be able to find them. But once again, this does create a problem that Russians do not know the location of these objects themselves. Which basically means, yes, it will slow down the pace of Ukrainian counteroffensive until they will be able to clear these defense fortifications, let's call them like this. But in case Russians, they want to attack themselves, do you think they will be able to go through their own minefields? The answer is 99.9999999% no. And it also suggests us another very interesting thing, is that Russians in Zaporozhye frontline, they completely abandoned all the ideas of their own advancement, and now they're in the full defense mode. And if Ukrainians do not slow down, they continue advancing and clear these fields relatively quick, Russians will most likely not be able to hold the Ukrainian offensive. Right, and now let me give you a similar quick update from the east of Ukraine and this trap where Russian elite forces are being lured in Bakhmut. And first of all, in Voronezh, a Russian Su-34 fighter jet spontaneously crashed by itself, as it always happens with the Russian military vehicles, but the pilots were able to eject themselves. Then we have this picture from Chkalovsky airport located in the suburbs of Moscow, which show us a lot of planes belonging to the highest government officials of Russia, including to the president of Russia Vladimir Putin, such planes as the Doomsday plane. And apparently, recently there was another sabotage, this time most certainly by Russians themselves, because simply it will be a little bit too far for Ukrainian drones to reach this airport, which is also extremely heavily guarded. And long story short, according to the satellite images, most of these government planes, including the Doomsday plane, which will be used by Putin in case there is a nuclear war, they were damaged as a result of drone attack with the shrapnel. Next, we once again refer to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, which claims Russians and Ukrainians continue their combat activities along Kupiansk-Svatovo-Kreminna front line, with neither of the sides significantly advancing, but Ukrainians significantly increase their pressure, the accuracy of their and precision of their artillery attacks around Bakhmut, which allows them to start advancing closer to the city a little bit faster. And speaking about the cities surrounding Bakhmut, such as Klishivka and Andriivka, even the British intelligence report confirms that Ukrainians, by taking these both settlements, they significantly affected the logistics of Russians to Bakhmut itself, because they're now in control of the highway that goes to the south of this city, but as for now, Russians still retain the control over the railroad, which they are using as fortifications and defense structures, along with its main use, to bring reinforcements and military supplies by train. And here is an extremely interesting video by the 3rd Assault Brigade of Ukrainians when they were fighting against Russians in Andriivka, which eventually led to the liberation of this settlement. As always, unfortunately, I have to fully censor this footage in order for YouTube not to cancel my videos, but if you want to see the fully uncensored episodes of The Russian Dude, you can check them on my Patreon. The link is down below. There's still 1 week of free access, and this is the best way so far to support the channel, so thank you so much. But Bakhmut saga does not end here, because Ukrainians recently were able to lure elite Russian paratroopers VDV into a Bakhmut trap. And to be honest, it is not just Ukrainians which made Russian soldiers about to sacrifice themselves, it is the policy by Kremlin and Putin himself, and what I'm mainly referring to here is that Bakhmut was one and only significant achievement of Russians since the beginning of this war, and they do not want to lose it that easily. They will do everything at this point to protect it, including once again sending its own elite forces to fight as regular common infantry, trying to not let Bakhmut go. At this moment, the number of Russian losses is getting close to 300,000, and a very big portion of it came from only Bakhmut alone. So at this point, Putin thinks that he's in way too deep into Bakhmut story, and once again he just does not want to give up it that easily. That is why, besides sending reinforcements from Russia itself, they also ordered some Russian elite forces, so-called VDV, from south of Ukraine, from Kherson and Zaporozhye and Rabotny front line, to move all the way to Bakhmut, trying to protect the city from Ukrainians, leaving other areas of occupied Ukraine be more exposed. And yes, like mentioned previously, even though Russian VDV is considered to be one of the most elite forces of the Russian military, which is known for its high mobility, right now they're being used in Bakhmut as common infantry, which obviously triggers a lot of aggression and just disbelief from VDV itself. And so as of right now, Ukrainians in the south, they did regain the control over Andriivka, Klishivka, once again disrupting the logistics of Russians to the south of Bakhmut, and they start to constantly increase the pressure, increasing also the precision of their artillery strikes, inflicting significant losses on the Russian defenders in Bakhmut. So it all pretty much means that those elite Russian VDV forces in Bakhmut, they're just being wasted literally for no reason, because as soon as Ukrainians will be able to breach Bakhmut defenses, they will be completely demoralized, exhausted physically and morally, and they will definitely not want to protect Bakhmut, knowing what they're actually capable of. They will start running, or at least they will surrender their arms. And what do you think will happen when regular Russian soldiers will see their elite forces doing this? They will do, most likely, exactly the same. And once again, most importantly, by collecting the elite Russian forces from the south of Ukraine, these areas became more vulnerable. So Putin, by trying to protect Bakhmut, he actually lost already on 2 of the front lines. So let's see when Ukrainian breach will happen. I will be here to report on this news as soon as they happen. If you don't want to miss them, just please consider subscribing to my channel. It only takes 1 click. Thank you so much, patrons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.